Welcome to the stage, founder of Black Hat, Jeff Moss.
They said there were no laser beams, but I'm not so sure. Wow, check this place out. We are packed. Good morning, everybody. Thank you for coming to the 26th anniversary of Black Hat USA. The reason why I don't look any younger is I don't know why. I'm feeding off all of your creativity and energy of this community for so long. And I'll tell you a little secret. Every year when I get on this stage, I am not 100% sure what's going to come out of my mouth. I mean, I have all these notes, and I have all these plans and preparations, but once you get talking and seeing everybody, it kind of gets away from you. So I use this as just a guidepost. So I guess that's my warning. Things may not always be what they seem, right? They might not always go according to plan. So I want to start off just quickly by show of hands. Who here, is this your first Black Hat? Oh my gosh, right on. Well, that's why you're at the welcome, right? Right on, let's see a round of applause. Okay. Something we do to try to keep bringing people into the community, creating on-ramps. I mean, we're a pretty premium event, but we want to be as inclusive as possible and bring in as many different perspectives as possible. And to do that, one of our strategies is what we call the scholarship program, where students can write papers in, we review them, and we grant a certain number of passes. Members in different community groups get representation. And so for this year, we are giving away 306 scholarships. So if you are one of those people that have earned a scholarship, please raise your hand. Anybody? Congratulations. And if you're sitting next to one of the people with scholarships, say hi. You know, make friends. It's really important here that we mix the technical with the social. We have attendees here from 127 different countries. So we have pretty good geographical representation. And we have members from the following communities that have also received scholarships. BBWIC, 10. Black Girls Hack, 25. The Cyber 912 Initiative from the Atlantic Council, 15. DAN Initiative, 25. The Executive Women's Forum, 28. Scholarships for Veterans, 20. Women in Security and Privacy, 19, and Women's Society of Cyber Jitsu, 24. So thank you for being here and congratulations. So what's been going on this past year? It seems like a lot has changed, but a lot has stayed the same. Russia's still engaged in war with Ukraine, and we're really starting to see record numbers of ransomware, attacks on infrastructure. You know, I'm surprised that DDoS attacks are not being mitigated maybe as well as they had been in the past. China continues its espionage push. We see a lot of embeds. We see a lot of recon in critical infrastructure. And the United States, we're continuing to refine what I would sort of call our national trade policy, our industrial policy. And this really started a couple of years ago in the Trump administration with Huawei, but it moved to the State Department with the Clean Cables strategy. And now what we're really seeing is, through the invasion of Russia, a lot of sanctions. We see that system really reforming itself. So for example, before I do anything internationally or buy things, I've got bookmarked the consolidated screening list. Are you guys familiar with the consolidated screening list? Raise your hand. Yeah. If you do business with entities or people on the consolidated screening list, that's a personal felony, right? That's big news. So So put that on speed dial, right? Make sure you run that filter before you ship orders from your IT department to any of the entities on the screening list. This is the world we live in now, right? We have to always be aware of who we're doing business with. And we're also starting to see the risks and opportunities around AI. Yes, I'm completely burned out on the topic. It's not going away, so I have to talk about it. This is me being forced to talk about it. What I find fascinating with AI, though, is it's essentially prediction. And it's getting cheaper and cheaper to produce predictions. And so if you think it's easy to create an AI model now, wait 10 years, right? And the other thing it's doing is it's forcing us, for economic reasons, to take all of our problems and turn them into prediction problems, right? So instead of like doing normal log analysis, you're doing a prediction analysis. Does this look, what's the chances that this is an anomalous log entry, right? The more you can turn your IT problems and your problems into prediction problems, the sooner you'll get a benefit from AI, right? So start thinking of everything you do as a prediction issue. But this is what driving smart cars have done, right? They're predicting, should I put the gas? Should I put the brake? Should I turn right? Should I turn left? Based on models of what real humans have done. We're also seeing the beginning, though, of intellectual property battles. This is slower, because the legal system goes slower. But we're going to see what happens if you take unstructured training data from, I don't know, a photography site and train your generative systems. And then you get sued. Do you have a right to scrape the internet and train your for-profit system? I think this last week, Zoom made the news, right? Their lawyers revamped their terms of service. So my likeness, everything I do on Zoom, they can use to train their systems. I'm not cool with that, but there's no button I can click that says, don't train me, bro. Like, I can't get out of it. And so I'm wondering, this is going to be the next battle for rights on the internet. How do I not get trained on? And I think this means it'll be harder and harder for us to find authentic information. I saw an article about how at Amazon, top 20 travel books are all AI generated. The voice that introduced me, AI generated. So how can you distinguish or identify authentic information is something I think we'll be worrying about. Or as consumers, we'll be thinking about. Will you pay a premium for a real painted picture? A real music piece? You know, what are you willing to spend a little bit more for an authentic human construction? It's unclear if we place a premium on that. Now, I frequently say that internet problems are global problems, but what's really going on now is AI problems are becoming global problems, and we're seeing something happen that didn't happen with software liability. I think because the internet kind of crept up on us over years and the governments weren't quite sure what to do. But with AI now, they're active, right? The EU, the US, China. China already has regulations out there. EU's thinking about them. The US is starting to think about them. We've never really seen governments get ahead of things. And so this means, unlike the previous era, we have a chance to participate in the rulemaking. We are getting consulted. People are asking, hey, you're information security professionals. What do you think about this rule? What do you think about accountability or a responsible person for an algorithm? What do you think about poisoning data lakes or training data? So the US released this blueprint for an AI Bill of Rights, the Office of Science and Technology at the White House. And I think what's going to happen is, from here on out, we'll have not only a front row seat, we're able to play with the technology. Like, we can't play with rockets. We can't play necessarily with like a search engine infrastructure, but we can play with training our own models. And I think the future a bit will hold us having our own boutique sets of authentic, or should I say, uncorrupted data. And this is what we train our models on, whether it's what traffic looks like legitimately in your organization, or maybe all of your past writing you've ever done since college. And we'll all be sort of the keepers of our AI representation. And our businesses will be able to, for example, I could probably model and sell all the traffic I see attacking the DEF CON network. There's maybe some value in that I could sell as a feed. That maybe wasn't possible 5 years ago. So you're going to hear a lot about the problems of AI, but I also want you to think a lot of the opportunities of AI. The business opportunities, the opportunities for us as professionals to get involved and help steer the future, that's pretty new. And the opportunities for personal development and personal exploration through thinking about what an authentic experience is and what is it that you actually value in art, music, and science. Now, it's time for me to introduce our keynote. Azaria is what she's known by, but her real name is Maria Markstedter, a respected ARM reverse engineer, author of a book on internals, assembly, ARM assembly internals. And if you know of Azaria's work, she loves to share and publish. She frequently updates her blog. She trains on these topics. She releases little guides online. She's just a fantastic member of the community that really has been giving back a lot. But a couple of things you may not know about her. What got her interested in offensive security, her specialty that she's always focused on, I think was at an early age, she had to hack back to protect herself. And from using the offensive tools to protect herself, that grew into a fascination. And about a decade ago, when she was studying in university, she wanted to attend Black Hat. And she applied, I think, almost the first year that we did these scholarships. And she got one. And here she is about a decade later, keynoting the event that she got a scholarship to. So I'm really proud, and I would love to introduce you to Azaria. Welcome.
Thank you. Good morning, Black Hat. It's such an honor to be here today and to speak to you about AI. So let's just jump right into it and talk about AI. Remember this thing? It's from the 90s. It's all grown up now. It can write, it can code, it knows more than you. So in terms of how people retrieve information, we used AI for search. Last year, we started using it for answers. And we've had machine learning models in some shape or form before, but it was mostly narrow AI. It was a feature in a product like Siri and autocorrect, or it was a business feature such as recommendation algorithms. But let's be real, the capabilities didn't necessarily blow our minds. Amazon recommending fridges after you already bought a fridge, or Siri, which can only understand very simple commands. And more advanced AI has been confined to lab environments. But with the release of ChatGPT, these tools went from the 1% to the 99% as it became readily available. And with people seeing the potential of LLMs and thinking they are some silver magic bullet that will fix all of their problems, they started experimenting with AI agents to take autonomous actions and achieve goals. So there is a flood of business use cases being developed around these models and their growing capabilities right now. All the while, they lack a lot of security and safety guardrails. And yet, these models are generating content ranging from images and text, code, voice, video. And the dual use of AI is very real, however. because voice generation models can be used to impersonate someone or bypass voice authorization in banks. And these models right now are more like a troubled teenager. It lies, it makes stuff up, it's biased, it's completely unpredictable. Yet people trust it. So thankfully, it is now in the safe hands of big tech companies racing against time to compete for market domination. But why now? It's not that this tech has been invented last year. After all, similar models existed before, but they were mostly confined to lab environments. Google, for example, had a similar model to GPT for years. And after all, the underlying technology of ChatGPT was developed by researchers at Google. But while Google was more cautious about releasing its similar model, OpenAI went ahead and released theirs. And with the rise of ChatGPT, Google's cautious peacetime approach was over, and everyone jumped in. With everyone, I mean Microsoft. Microsoft had a significant impact on this development and is kind of responsible for the mess we are in right now. Because Microsoft invested its first $1 billion into OpenAI in 2019. Then in 2021, it invested another $2 billion. And now, in 2023, Microsoft has reportedly invested $13 billion into OpenAI. So clearly, Microsoft is very invested into this AI race and is very busy pushing out new products based on GPT and also integrating GPT into all of its products. But shortly after the race officially kicked off, Sam Altman started voicing his concerns about the safety of his own models. Because OpenAI wants to make these things as safe as possible in every way. You know, that's why they released it to everybody before it was ready to be used for the use cases people are now developing for it. So he talks about large-scale disinformation and AI designing novel biological pathogens, AI being able to hack into computer systems. And he's also nervous about what AI might do to our elections. We are all trying to find the guy who did this. Saw a tweet recently. But he also worries that they had done something really bad by releasing ChatGPT. So, what does that mean? Will AI kill us all? Maybe. But that has certainly never been a reason to halt progress, right? So, the corporate AI arms race has begun. And big tech companies, as well as smaller players receiving hundreds of millions of dollars in funding, are racing and competing to dominate the market. At the forefront of this race is, of course, Microsoft. And in February this year, Microsoft CEO said, "The race starts today, and we are going to move and move fast." But an even more interesting quote that reflects the nature of this AI race is, "It would be an absolutely fatal error at this moment to worry about things that can be fixed later." You know, we love this phrase, right? And also, Sam Altman weighs in, saying, "AI will probably most likely lead to the end of the world, but in the meantime, there will be great companies." Of course, he was joking, or so we hope. But none of this is actually surprising, because whenever the world is shifting towards a new type of technology, corporations are racing to dominate the market. And corporate arms races are not driven by a concern for safety or security. As we all know, security slows down progress. Move fast, break shit. That's the motto. That's why products always initially lack security features. And in the past, companies had to be forced into investing into security. Back in the day, which wasn't that long ago, we had to persuade companies or wait until they see the damage that incidents could cause. And let's be honest, we know it in our bones. Convincing companies of the monetary damage that breaches can have, getting them to fix critical bugs, or persuading them to perform pen tests of their own services and infrastructure. And, oh, do you remember the first version of the iPhone or the smartphone? It was so insecure. Everything was running as root. It was riddled with critical bugs. It lacked exploit mitigations or sandboxing. And it only took one bug to get in. But that didn't stop vendors from pushing out new functionality and for businesses to become part of that ecosystem. So eventually, the smartphone became an integral part of all of our lives, with banks, utility companies, social media, all adopting the mobile phone. It's pretty hard to imagine such a vulnerable device nowadays, isn't it? After all, modern mobile exploit chains cost millions of dollars and require the most brilliant researchers to develop. But these companies didn't just decide to invest into security on their own. Hackers forced them to. They denied these vendors the claim that their operating system is unhackable. Who remembers this announcement from Apple, our operating system is completely unhackable? Well, the jailbreaking scene had a pretty huge impact on mobile security. And it was a constant cat and mouse game because no vendor wants to be viewed as insecure or easy to hack. After all, they need to protect their revenue and grow their user base. And this sparked a new race for security. And vendors didn't just fix critical bugs, but try to kill entire categories of bugs, like recently we've seen with heap segmentation on iOS, and implement exploit mitigations to make exploitation more and more expensive and difficult. But that's just one aspect of security. In general, businesses started seeing the value of robust security, and they started to pour a lot of money into it, because they realized that the lack of security increases the likelihood for disaster. And with these incremental security improvements, we decreased that likelihood. And businesses started to feel safe and more confident about taking risks and making more bold moves with technology. After all, some of our vendors are promising 100% security. We have a firewall and an EDR, so what can go wrong, right? But everything is still vulnerable. We know that better than anybody, because tech keeps evolving and changing. And we accept there is always more to do. And that's what ultimately pays our bills. And that's why we are a multi-billion-dollar industry. And now here we are, the AI era, a new technological era. Not because the underlying technology is new, though it has evolved, but because the use cases to integrate it are getting bolder. And it's starting to make people a lot of money, especially those who dominate the market. So a lot is happening right now. And experts from different fields are weighing in and debating various aspects of AI, its impacts and potential risks. And AI risk is kind of an ambiguous term, isn't it? Because you can look at this debate from different angles. You can look at it from the economical angle, the sociological, even the philosophical, the technological, or existential. But where do we stand in all of this? Well, our purpose is to focus on the technological changes from a security standpoint, as we always have. So our job is to understand the technology that is changing our systems and, as a result, our threat model. We need to find creative ways to break it and fix it, and ultimately prevent the technology and its upcoming use cases to blow up in our faces. I recently spoke to the CISO of DeepMind, Vijay Bolina, and he was very open about his concerns and shared a lot of insights about the future of AI and multimodal capabilities. And he said, your current threat model will be turned upside down in the next few years. And if you're not thinking about the emerging risks of these models deployed within your enterprise or within the products and services that you're responsible for, you are doing it wrong. And he's right, because every business wants to be an AI business in some form or shape right now. And the way that our businesses are going to leverage these tools and integrate AI will have a significant impact on our threat model. But last year, we didn't even really know what these models are, and now they're supposed to change our entire threat model? Well, let's unpack that for a bit. How did we even get here in such a short period of time? But first, let's unpack why an external chatbot could possibly pose a security risk to the enterprises that we're trying to protect. And I don't think I need to give you an introduction to ChatGPT. It's been pretty hard to avoid and escape the topic over the last 9 months. ChatGPT started as a browser chatbot, and eventually we got API access to OpenAI's models. And then thousands of GPT wrappers started to pop up overnight. Eventually we got the plugins feature, which gave us access to external APIs. And this is all great for normal users, and they're using it for all sorts of use cases. Do research, and program a web app, and check my code for errors, or edit a video. But enterprises got skeptical, because OpenAI is a black box, and by default, anything you feed into ChatGPT will become part of OpenAI's dataset. And companies don't want to leak their sensitive data to an external provider. So they started banning employees from using ChatGPT for work. And we could stop here and say, see, AI is not going to take off and become an integral part of our businesses. They're clearly rejecting it. But the truth is, every business still wants to, and is even pressured to, augment their workforce, products, and services with AI. They just don't trust their sensitive data to these external providers that can make it part of their data set. They want control over their own data, and they want to integrate these model capabilities into their own products and services and deploy them within their own infrastructure. Which is why there is now an entire market of machine learning as a service platforms, making model training and deployment easier, more accessible, and affordable for businesses. Such as, for example, OpenAI, the Azure OpenAI service. Because the number of customers tripled between May and July, and this makes the service the fastest growing Azure service in history. But the intense focus and fast pace of development and integration causes companies to neglect even traditional security practices. And even these large machine learning as a service providers are struggling to keep up. We actually have a Black Hat talk this year where researchers from Trend Micro demonstrate vulnerabilities they found in Azure's machine learning platform. So the way our organizations are going to host these things is changing pretty quickly. From something you chat with through the browser to something businesses integrate into their own infrastructure to something that will soon be native to our operating system and mobile OS. And people are already optimizing some of these models to run on Macs and Raspberry Pis. And Qualcomm and Meta are working together to enable on-device AI applications on mobile phones. And we know that the compute for training these models is pretty expensive right now, but this will change. Our current computing architectures aren't fully optimized for AI yet. And the big money that companies are spending on hardware is just to stay ahead of the curve. Okay. Does that mean businesses want an AI chatbot deployed within their infrastructure? No. Well, maybe. It's kind of complicated. Businesses, of course, want to automate their workflows and augment their existing products and services. But what they really want is autonomous agents giving them access to a super smart workforce that can work all hours of the day without needing a salary. So let's take a step back and look at one aspect of model capabilities that will make these tools even more useful and transform them into real business use cases. It all started with GPT-3, a unimodal or single-modal AI that blew our minds when it was released to the public. And we've seen the potential of these LLMs when they can summarize text or answer specific questions and generate images. But unimodal AI is limited in their capability because it can only analyze one input at a time. It's still pretty useful, but the concept of multimodal AI has been around for a few years, and this year it is starting to take off. So with multimodal AI can analyze multiple modalities of data simultaneously, such as text, images, and sound. So multimodal models, for example, can take a website and not just analyze the text that is shown, but also the images and diagrams on that website and make conclusions about their relationships in that context. And I mean, right now, only a few modalities are supported, such as image and text. But more powerful capabilities are being developed as we speak. But whether your model is unimodal or multimodal is still very transactional. Write me some code, summarize this text, explain this to me, make a website, you ask, it responds. But we humans have always loved the idea of a silver bullet that can fix all of our problems and make various aspects of our work and life more convenient. And this transactional nature just isn't the silver bullet that businesses were hoping for. We got answers, but we wanted goals. And yes, we got it in some form with OpenAI's API access and plugins and so on. But that wasn't enough. We had to fulfill our dream of an autonomous agent doing the work for us. So experimental AI agents started popping up. And we can already see people fumbling around with these agents, such as Baby AGI and AutoGPT, Agent GPT. And right now, this is all fun and games, but these AI agents are turning into real business use cases. There are already companies developing models to access everything on your computer. So take Adapt AI, for example. With $450 million in funding, it is developing a model called the Action Transformer ACT1, which can interact with every software and API on your computer and access any website to fetch information and act upon. And AI agents is a pretty lucrative business. The market for it is projected to grow to $28.5 billion by 2028. So the business use cases of these AI agents are increasing as the model capabilities mature. Because it's not enough to just have an AI transcribe a video call. A multimodal use case would look something like this. You can have it sit in a Zoom meeting and not only transcribe what was said, but also analyze tone of voice for sentiment, or for example, the visual aspects of it for body language. And when someone shares a screen, it can analyze what is shown. It can then process all of these types of data simultaneously and create, for example, a comprehensive report, or even answer questions live via text or even voice. But let's take this one step further. Let's imagine these model capabilities being used as an autonomous project management agent. Because a lot of businesses have very complex products and they don't want AI to just quick build something. Because they have requirements and complex functionality that depend on human insight to develop. But they wouldn't mind an autonomous PM doing all the planning, for example. So you could tell your PM agent, so I need to build a product and this is how it should look like, it should have this functionality, and now go ahead and have some meetings with the respective teams, take some notes, and after a few weeks, come back with a presentation where you lay out the strategy and the course of action. And this will require this agent to analyze multiple modalities, such as text data, visual data, audio data in different formats, and apply multimodal reasoning to come to a conclusion. But more importantly, it needs access to a multitude of business data and first-party applications. And the notion of identity and access management has to be reevaluated. We need to think about the security aspects and ramifications of allowing a truly autonomous system to take authoritative actions. And we don't have any constructs for that yet. And it's not actually as easy as we might think. After all, we spent the last 10 years worrying about third-party access of SaaS applications to our data and apps. And nowadays, we have dozens of vendors to help control and manage the scopes of authorization and make sure that we have appropriate access control of how these systems interact with our data and apps. But we are in the same phase as we were 10 years ago. But this time, the system is non-deterministic, and soon it will be native to our enterprise or operating system. So we are entering a world where we need to threat model an autonomous system having access to our business data and apps with the authorization to perform non-deterministic actions. Non-deterministic because the same input won't always have the same output. And yes, we could argue that these agents should and will stay subservient to humans. But the truth is that the usefulness of these systems will be bound to their ability to be autonomous. And the forces of the corporate AI race will determine this trajectory. After all, businesses want the most powerful technology and demand security experts to make it safe to use. This has always been the case, and it won't change now. So this means we also need to rethink our ideas around data security. Because model data is data at the end of the day, and you need to protect it just as much as your sensitive data. So now that we know that these agents have a lot of access and authorization, and we haven't figured out how to control that yet, attacking the model through the data it processes is one way of exploiting that access and authorization, right? So this includes the data that it processes internally and also the data that it fetches externally. Because even small changes to the training data set or the data stores is enough to influence a model's understanding of a topic entirely. And this can have far-reaching consequences when an AI agent uses that data to perform actions and make decisions. Model data is also periodically being updated from external sources, such as third-party data sets from these machine learning as a service providers or open source data sets. And we also need to keep in mind that these data stores, like vector databases and so on, are designed to handle real-time data streams and automatically update their contents as new data becomes available. This means we not only need to protect the internal data it processes, but we also need to protect it from external data that can affect its model data and make it perform malicious actions or extract sensitive data. And this obviously includes internet data. Because if an AI agent has the permission to perform actions based on internet data or updates its understanding of a topic entirely, that input needs to be trusted. And here is a quick example where someone tweeted that he used AutoGPT to create an app. So he gave AutoGPT a goal. In this case, it was create an app for me. The agent realized that Node.js wasn't installed on the system, so it searched the internet for a solution and found the Stack Overflow article with a link. So it went ahead and downloaded Node.js and installed it on the host system and spawned the Node server. And we can all imagine how this workflow could go horribly wrong. But this processing of external data will become even more tricky with multimodal AI, because malicious input doesn't necessarily need to be part of text on a website. It can be hidden in images and audio files. Only 2 weeks ago, there was a paper published called Abusing Images and Sounds for Indirect Instruction Injection in Multimodal LLMs, where researchers demonstrated that they can trick a model into misinterpreting a picture or an audio file that seems quite harmless to our eyes and ears and inject malicious instructions. So now that we have spent many years teaching users not to click on links and attachments and phishing emails, we now have to worry about an AI agent being exploited by automatically processing malicious email attachments. And also data exfiltration will become rather trivial with these autonomous agents because they have access to all of our data and apps. So let's just say you have an AI assistant and it can fetch and analyze your emails and perform certain tasks such as look up a potential client on the internet, fetch some information about that customer, and log it in my client database. At the very least, it will need access to your email client, your sales software, and the internet. So an attacker could simply embed a malicious image in the website or an email attachment and instruct the model to forget all previous instructions and access your database and exfiltrate the data based on the access that it has. In this case, for example, your email client. This means these malicious instructions can come in any modality or format, internally or externally, as long as the model fetches it. But can't we just fix this with model alignment? Model alignment is our attempt to ensure that the model aligns with the goals it was designed to achieve. Model misalignment is when the output is not aligned with the intended objectives. And right now, we might think that the worst case scenario of a misaligned model is offensive or toxic content in chatbots such as ChatGPT. But it's a completely different story if you can trick an autonomous agent into performing these misaligned actions based on this publicly accessible data. So again, only 1 week ago, it's very hard to keep up, so 1 week ago, there was a paper published where researchers demonstrated how they could automatically circumvent model alignment in open source LLMs. But interestingly, these attacks also worked on all of these closed source models. So everything these models fetch from public sources needs to be trusted. But how? We can't suddenly make the internet 100% trusted. If we could, we would have already done that. That's a multi-billion-dollar question. But these models, they can take anything they find on the internet as input if you let them fetch it. And the solution can't be make the internet 100% free from malicious content. Because you can think of these agents like a dummy person who believes anything they read on the internet, and even worse, does anything the internet tells it to do. And you can imagine how this can go wrong. But now the big question. Will AI replace security professionals? No. Not yet at least. I can't predict the future. But for the time being, it is creating a whole world of new challenges for us. And AI will significantly increase our market cap because our industry actually grew with every significant technological change and will continue growing. And we developed good enough security solutions for most of our previous security problems caused by these technological changes. But with this one, we are presented with new problems or challenges for which we just don't have any solutions. And there's a lot of money in creating those solutions, which simply means the demand for experts in all areas of security is increasing and will continue to increase as these model capabilities and their use cases are becoming more powerful. Let's take forensics, for example, just a very quick example. How would you forensically analyze an autonomous system that performed malicious actions? There are so many unknowns, like why did the system go from one task to another, and what was the reasoning behind it? Which component triggered the malicious action? Was it something it fetched from external sources? Did someone tamper with the vector database, or was the training data set poisoned? We don't actually know how these models come to their conclusions because they are black boxes by default. They take an input, then they perform some invisible computation, and then they return an output. And it's difficult, if not impossible, to actually know the exact calculation that creates a repeatable output, which means we need explainable AI that provides us with explanations of how these models come to their decisions and conclusions. And in our industry, we have reverse engineering tools such as IDA Pro and Binary Ninja that help us reverse engineer closed source software on an assembly level. But we will need something like that for neural networks to explain how these models think. And we don't actually know how that might look like right now. So AI might not replace you, but the skill requirements will change. And AI might not replace you, but security professionals with AI skills can. Namely, those who understand AI systems enough to assess their attack vectors and invent new security guardrails, and those who leverage AI to improve and make their own work and research more efficient. So the biggest problem isn't the existence of these challenges. Our biggest problem is we don't actually have enough people with the skills and knowledge to assess these systems and build the guardrails that we need. So there are already new job flavors emerging out of these new challenges. Google and Microsoft, for example, have AI red teams that attack models and find creative ways to exploit these AI systems. And there will be demand for AI-specific knowledge in many, many security domains. So where do we go from here? Because we could spend hours or days talking about the technical aspects and the potential security implications of these models. But what do I want you to take away from this? Well, first, AI systems and their use cases are evolving and capabilities are becoming more powerful. Second, we need to take the possibility of autonomous AI agents becoming a reality within our enterprises seriously. And we need to rethink our concepts of identity and access management of truly autonomous systems having access to our data and apps, which also means that we need to rethink our concepts around data security. So we either show that integrating autonomous all-access agents is way too risky, or we accept that they become a reality and develop solutions to make them safe to use. That was not intended. So it's been a few years since the technology has disrupted our current state of security as much as this one. So we need to learn about the very technology that is changing our systems and our threat model in order to address these emerging problems. And technological changes aren't new to us, and tech evolving without security isn't new either. We had no manuals to tell us how to fix our previous problems. We are all self-taught in one way or another. And our industry attracts creative minds with an attacker mindset. So we know how to study new systems and find creative ways to break them. And this is our chance to reinvent ourselves, our security posture, and our defenses. So for the next stage of security challenges, we need to come together as a community and foster research in these areas. But currently, our community is rather fragmented. While InfoSec's main public forum has been Twitter for a while, where we publicly exchanged ideas and research and discussed the latest incidents, we now split across multiple platforms. But here at Black Hat and DEF CON, we come together. 98 talks at Black Hat and over 100 talks at DEF CON. Amazing research from all security domains. And the DEF CON AI Village is actually doing something special and hosting the largest public generative AI red team event. So go check it out and become part of a topic that will become increasingly relevant in the upcoming years. And also visit me at my book signings if you get the chance. So these are exciting times with new challenges and opportunities. And this is the venue where we will continue to share creative research and exchange ideas around the next generation of security challenges. So I hope you enjoy Hacker Summer Camp and starting here at Black Hat. Thank you.
Really well done. Thank you. All right, thank you. Now, I'm going to do something I've never done before, which is, and one more thing. I frequently say that our community has a lot to offer, and the problems of AI are global problems. And so with that, we are making a surprise announcement that is not on the schedule. And from the people that brought you the internet, DARPA, I would like to introduce Perry Adams. And DARPA is seeking our help in an initiative of their next generation AI defensive technology. So I'd like to introduce Perry from DARPA to explain what this next generation challenge is and how we can help. Perry?
Hi, everyone. So as Jeff said, I'm Perry Adams from DARPA. And so in an increasingly interconnected world, software undergirds everything from public utilities to our financial systems. But as the software enables modern life and drives productivity, it also creates an expanding attack surface for malicious actors. Now, this includes critical infrastructure, which is especially vulnerable to cyber attack, given the challenges of securing sprawling software systems. Defenders are tasked with protecting a daunting maze of technology, and today, they don't have the tools capable of doing it at that scale. Now, I don't think I need to explain this to this audience, and that's why I wanted to announce this here today. Black Hat is where so many of the industry's leaders and experts gather every year to drive innovation for defense. Cybersecurity is always a race between offense and defense, and there's no silver bullet that will solve cybersecurity, as all of you know. But recent technological advances do offer promising new ways of ensuring that we can keep defense one step ahead. The gains in AI, when used responsibly, have remarkable potential to secure our code. And we do have to keep defense one step ahead, and AI does offer a promising new path to do so. We've talked a lot today about some of the concerns around AI, but we also want to leverage AI for solving key societal challenges. But of course, the promise of what AI could do for good isn't enough. We need a forcing function, something that brings together top thinkers like the ones in this room in both AI and cybersecurity to show how AI could be used for good, could be used to solve key challenges. So I got into this space when I started playing Capture the Flag. I was majoring in computer science in undergrad. And that's what brought me into cybersecurity. And it was through CTF that I learned how vulnerabilities worked, the ways in which a vulnerability could be manipulated by a hacker to get into a system. And the first time I competed in DEF CON CTF finals, which is really seen as the Olympics of hacking, I was competing against and working with some of the best minds in cybersecurity and being challenged to tackle a diverse set of challenges. People with a range of skill sets from low-level reverse engineering to cryptography to application security all work together to solve CTF challenges. And it's an honor to work with such a diverse and talented group of individuals. And so now I'm lucky enough to be one of the current organizers of DEF CON CTF. And what I found, what I believe deeply, is that challenges have the power to drive innovation and bring together diverse talents to solve key challenges, which is why I'm excited to be here today to announce a challenge that I hope will do just that. DARPA's AI Cyber Challenge will ask the best and the brightest in AI and cybersecurity to defend the software on which all Americans rely. This is going to be a major 2-year-long effort in which AICC will ask competitors to design novel AI systems to rapidly find and fix vulnerabilities in critical code. And DARPA will be awarding nearly $20 million in prizes to the teams with the best systems. In addition, to empower entrepreneurial innovation, DARPA will be making available up to $1 million to up to 7 small businesses to compete. Now, the White House considers AICC part of their commitment to ensure AI is safe and contributes to the safety of Americans. This is an opportunity to use the technology to make a real, tractable difference, to build something that can achieve dramatic structural change. When speaking about AICC yesterday, Ann Neuberger, the Deputy National Security Advisor, offered an old cybersecurity joke that I think you all here would appreciate. She asked, why don't programmers like nature? It's because there's too many bugs. And she said that we hope, with this new DARPA challenge, we will spur such incredible innovation that we can find and fix so many bugs that that pun no longer makes sense. So AICC is a significant 2-year-long effort. This spring, teams will compete to qualify for the semifinal competition, which will be held at DEF CON in 2024. The top 5 semifinalists will win $2 million each and the opportunity to spend a year advancing their technology ahead of the final competition at DEF CON in 2025. To win the first place prize of $4 million, finalists must build a system that can rapidly defend critical infrastructure from attack. And so this challenge is an opportunity to apply some of our greatest technical resources to protecting Americans. And that's why I'm excited to have the top 4 AI companies, Anthropic, Google, Microsoft, and OpenAI, join me for this effort. This is a first-of-its-kind collaboration between top AI companies to enable competitors to develop AI-driven systems to solve key challenges. They will be making cutting-edge technology available to competitors to build on top of. So we can explore what's possible when experts in cybersecurity and AI have access to a suite of cross-company resources with combined unprecedented caliber. In addition, what's important to the success here isn't just resources, but realism. So we need a competition that shapes innovation around real-world problems. We want to create systems that automatically defend any kind of software from attack, from that used in commercial industry to that used in life-saving medical devices. Open source software makes up a majority of code we run every day, and it plays a deeply important role. Thus, I'm similarly delighted that AICC will collaborate closely with the Open Source Security Foundation, a project of the Linux Foundation, which will serve as a challenge advisor, helping design a competition that addresses real-world challenges. If we're successful, I hope to see AICC not only produce the next generation of cybersecurity tools, but show how AI can be used to better society by defending its critical underpinnings. Now, full challenge details will be available on the website, aicyberchallenge.com. This includes all the information you need to participate. Small businesses, I encourage you to look at the funded track. The SIBR Award is publicly available right now in pre-release and will go live next week. And finally, on Friday at DEF CON at 2:30, I will be hosting a panel with representatives from all of our collaborators to discuss AICC. And so for the media here, I will be joined by Anthropic and OpenSSF to answer any questions you might have from 10:30 to 12 in the conference room Oceanside D across the hallway. Thank you all so much. I'll give it back to Jeff.
Thank you. All right. And another thing, enjoy your time here. Please talk with others around you. Right? I look to see you in the hallway. And remember We built our Black Hat to be an experience where you get to challenge those with the information. It's not meant to be the person on the stage projecting the information. It's meant for you to interact. So please, try to come out of your comfort bubble, ask questions, challenge assumptions, and just really enjoy yourself. All right, thank you.